For our Time for All Ages story this week, I picked a story called The Fall of Freddie the Leaf. There's a couple reasons why I chose it. One is because we are in the season of autumn and the foliage is fantastic. The other is because this week in church, we're thinking together and talking about change and loss and letting go and transformation. It looks all sorts of different ways in our lives. But one of the things I find is that the changing of the seasons always reminds me about the letting go that change requires of us. So we will take a journey with Freddie the Leaf. Spring had passed, so had summer. Freddie the Leaf had grown large. His midsection was wide and strong, and his 5 extensions were firm and pointed. He had first appeared in spring as a small sprout on a rather large branch near the top of a tall tree. Freddie was surrounded by hundreds of other leaves, just like himself, or so it seemed. Soon he discovered that no 2 leaves were alike, even though they were on the same tree and maybe even the same branch. Alfred was the leaf next to him. Ben was the leaf on his right side, and Claire was the lovely leaf overhead. They had all grown up together. They had learned to dance in the spring breezes, bask lazily in the summer sun, and wash off in the cooling rains. But it was Daniel who was Freddie's best friend. He was the largest leaf on the limb and seemed to have been there before everybody else. It appeared to Freddie that Daniel was also the wisest among them. It was Daniel who told them that they were part of a tree. It was Daniel who explained that they were growing in a public park. It was Daniel who told them that the tree had strong roots, which were hidden in the ground below. He explained about the birds who came to sit on their branch and sing morning songs. He explained about the sun, the moon, and the stars, and the seasons. Can you guess which one is Daniel? Freddie loved being a leaf. He loved his branch, his light leafy friends, his place high in the sky, the wind that jostled him about, sun rays that warmed him, the moon that covered him with soft white shadows. Summer had been especially nice. The long, hot days felt good, and warm nights were peaceful and dreamy. There were many people in the park that summer. They often came and sat under Freddie's tree. Daniel told him that giving shade was part of his purpose. "What's a purpose?" Freddie had asked. "A reason for being," Daniel answered. To make things more pleasant for others is a reason for being. To make shade for old people who come to escape the heat of their homes is a reason for being. To provide a cool place for children to come and play, to fan with our leaves the picnickers who come to eat on checkered tablecloths. These are all reasons for being. Freddie especially liked the old people. I do too. They sat so quietly on the cool grass and hardly ever moved. They talked in whispers of times past. The children were fun, too. See that? Even though they sometimes tore holes in the bark of the tree, or carved their names into it. Still, it was fun to watch them move so fast and laugh so much. But Freddie's summer soon passed. It vanished an October night. He had never felt it so cold. All the leaves shivered with the cold. They were coated with a thin layer of white, just like this. Thin layer of glittery white, which quickly melted and left them dew-drenched and sparkling in the morning sun. Again, it was Daniel who explained that they had experienced their first frost, the sign that it was fall and that winter would come soon. Almost at once, the whole tree, in fact, the whole park, was transformed into a blaze of color. There was hardly a green leaf left. Alfred had turned a deep yellow. Ben had become a bright orange. Claire had become a blazing red, Daniel a deep purple, and Freddie and his friends had made themselves a beautiful rainbow. Why did we turn different colors? Freddie asked. When we're on the same tree. Each of us is different. We have had different experiences. We have faced the sun differently. We have cast shade differently. Why should we not have different colors? Daniel said matter-of-factly. Daniel told Freddie that this wonderful season was called autumn or fall. One day, a very strange thing happened. The same breezes that had in the past made them dance began to push and pull at their stems, almost as if they were angry. This caused some of the leaves to be torn from their branches and swept up in the wind, tossed about and dropped softly onto the ground. You may have seen this happen before. All the leaves became frightened. What is happening? They asked each other in whispers. It's what happens in the fall, Daniel told them. It's the time for leaves to change their home. Some people call it to die. Will we all die? Freddie asked. Yes, Daniel answered. Everything dies. No matter how big or small, how weak or strong. We first do our job. We experience the sun and the moon, the wind and the rain. We learn to dance and to laugh. Then we die. I won't die, said Freddie with determination. Will you, Daniel? Yes, answered Daniel, when it is my time. When is that? Asked Freddie. No one knows for sure, Daniel responded. Freddie noticed that the other trees continued to fall. He thought it must be their time. He saw that some of the leaves lashed back at the wind before they fell, and others simply let go and dropped quietly. Soon the tree was almost bare. I'm afraid to die, Freddie told Daniel. I don't know what's down there. We all fear what we don't know, Freddie. It's natural, Daniel reassured him. Yet you were not afraid when spring became summer. You were not afraid when summer became fall. They were natural changes. Why should you be afraid of the season of death? Does the tree die too? Freddie asked. Someday, said Daniel. But there is something stronger than the tree. It is life that lasts forever, and we are all a part of life. Where will we go when we die? No one knows for sure. That is itself the great mystery. Will we return in the spring? We may not, but life will. Then what has been the reason for all of this? Freddie continued to question. Why were we here at all if we only have to fall and die? Daniel answered in his matter-of-fact way. It's been about the sun and the moon. It's been about happy times together. It's been about the shade and the old people and the children. It's been about colors in the fall. It's been about seasons. Isn't that enough? That afternoon in the golden light of dusk, Daniel let go. He fell effortlessly. He seemed to smile peacefully as he fell. Goodbye for now, Freddie, he said. Then Freddie was alone, the only leaf left on the branch. The first snow fell the following morning. It was soft, white, and gentle, but it was bitter cold. There was hardly any sun that day. The day was very short. Freddie found himself losing his color. Losing his color, he became brittle and brown and was constantly cold, and the snow was weighing down on him. At dawn, the wind came. The wind swept through and took Freddie from his branch. He felt himself floating quietly, gently, and softly downward. As he fell, he saw the whole tree for the first time. How strong and firm it was. He was sure that it would live for a long time. A long, long time. And he knew that he had been a part of its life. And it made him proud. Freddie landed on a clump of snow. It somehow felt soft and even warm. In this new position, he was more comfortable than he had ever been. He closed his eyes and fell asleep. He did not know that spring would follow winter and that the snow would melt into the water. He didn't know that what appeared to be his useless, dried self would join with the water and serve to make the tree stronger. Most of all, he did not know that there, asleep in the tree and the ground, were already plans for new leaves in the spring. The beginning. So the ending of the story is really a beginning, because the seasons, and same with our lives, have their own seasons, and things come and go, and we let go of things, and new things come into our lives. Sometimes we have to let go of people. Sometimes we have to let go of other things that we love. And this process is part of being a human, and it's part of living in community, and it's really just part of life. So I invite you to think this week about what something is that you might need to let go of. Maybe it's an attachment to something. And think about that and see what might come into your life or come into your heart once you make room for something new. So take care. Have a wonderful week. Know that I am thinking of you and that the whole church is thinking of you. And I look forward to when we can be together again in person.